I told my husband to take his pants off and start playing Tetris 99. And the principal was sitting at her desk, ready to punish anyone caught without a hall pass. She let it slip that she sucks a mean dick, but only if she is digging the dick, and if that dick is vegan. She was getting very snuggly with me, and he and I have always been a little homoerotic with one another.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Beducated is the masterclass for all things sex. Get better in bed and feel more confident by clicking the link at the top of the show notes or use promo code MANWHORE at beducated.com. It's like educated, but with a B at the front, so you know how to tickle the B on the back. When your mission is beyond missionary, step up your game with Liberator. Their collection of transformable sex furniture and sex toy mounts will put you in sexual positions you never thought were possible. Use promo code MANWHORE and save 40% off the best-selling Wedge Ramp combo at Liberator.com. Everybody loves a mashup, right? Peanut butter and chocolate, Real World and Road Rules, and now the Motor Bunny and Bad Dragon. Yes, my sponsor, the Motor Bunny, has partnered up with Bad Dragon to bring you some of your favorite fantasy dildos as vibrator attachments. Now you can ride Ica or Orochi or Flint while cranking up the vibes. With dozens of accessories and attachments like the Dungeon Master restraint belt or the realistic feeling My Friend Dick attachment, Motor Bunny keeps creating fun ways to play with the most powerful toy in your war chest. If you don't have one yet, get $50 off your very own Motor Bunny or Motor Bunny Buck at manwhorepod.com/motorbunny or use code MANWHORE at checkout. Get there fast to take advantage of time-sensitive Black Friday deals. So again, go to manwhorepod.com/motorbunny. Link always in the schnotes.
Welcome to the Man-Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all the audiophiles, story sluts, and oral enthusiasts. This is Billy Procida, and you are listening to a very special episode of the Man-Whore Podcast. Something saucy to accompany you on all your Thanksgiving travels to or from. Maybe something to put in your earbuds while you're basting a turkey, which sounds so dirty. This week's episode is with Jack. Jack of ManwhoreCon #4Jack fame. Yes, the Peep Show's very own Jack. The France-living Englishman of Scottish descent. He's an interesting mix of things, and he's, for years, in the Peep Show, been complimented on his voice. And throughout this year, I have received numerous requests for an episode with Jack telling sexy stories. So that's what this is. You're going to hear very little of me. You are so very welcome for that. I got a few points of business. This won't take too long, and then we're just going to get into the fun. We're going to get into the sauce, get to the stories. Shout out to the god of stories, Loki. Okay. The Naked Comedy Show. It's coming back next weekend, December 1st. Tickets are still on sale. We've sold about 45% of the tickets already. And I'll tell you what, if you use the promo code GROWER before Tuesday, that'll get you $5 off your ticket. Link in the schnotes. You'll also see my other stand-up comedy dates in there as well. Another date to mark in your calendars is that... Why is it so hot? Movie night. December 13th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Members of my fan whore community on Patreon are invited to watch a retro porno with the crew in our Discord server, the Champagne Room. I hope the recipient of this week's fan whore appreciation moment will show up. Shout out Matt Parodi. Parodi? Either way, I know it's Italian, so I don't want to ask too many questions if you know what I mean. But hey, man, Quincy Williams, though, right? If you are the guy who I think you are, then I feel like you would appreciate me saying just the name Quincy Williams, where like really no one else will. And if that's not you, then this is just a really weird several seconds that I'm wasting on the microphone. But thank you, buddy, for supporting the Man Whore Podcast on Patreon. And you too can support the Man Whore Podcast with not only your downloads, but your dollars on Patreon. You get access to all sorts of bonus content, including a bonus episode with Jack telling a few more stories. I'm going to drop that on Friday. You'll also be able to join us for Hot Movie Night on December 13th. Become a member today. Support the pod you love at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And if you sign up for an annual membership before the end of the year, you get a 15% discount. So it's a good time to join. Friendly reminder, if you want to send me an email with your comments, your questions, your criticisms, what have you, you can always shoot that over to manwhorepod@gmail.com. Next week's intro, I'll do a little bit more episode feedback stuff. Y'all have had some really cool things to say lately. So as I said, this episode is just the sultry-voiced Jack reading fan horror sex stories, as well as a few of his own and one or two of mine. These are stories that have been posted in the I Just Had Sex channel in the Champagne Room, our super free, super fun, super sex positive Discord server. You can gain access to the server at manwhorepod.com/Discord. It is free to join. Of course, link in the schnotes. I'll talk a little bit more in the intro next week. Please support the sponsors of this show during your Black Friday shopping. Not because corporations need anyone's like help, just because like, hey, like they've got some good deals for you. Like I'm telling you to keep them in mind for your sake. I've already been paid. Go do that. Why am I still talking? I know what you showed up for. Especially if you're one of those people who's like, oh my God, I'm like so behind on the podcast, but I love the community. And then you find out that Jack is reading sex stories. You're like, I'm fucking here. The most high-pitched cheerleader chick in the Champagne Room is here with the voice of, give me fucking Jack. So, enjoy the delicious Jack. People who know BDO. People who know how to fuck more comfortably know Liberator. Yes, my sponsor this week is Liberator, the brand whose mission is to make sex more comfortable and more innovative. Now, I've known about Liberator for years. I'm very excited that they are now partnering with the podcast. I've known about their stuff for a long time. I've seen their sex furniture at sex parties. I've seen their products in sex educator videos. Something I did not know is they don't just do sex furniture. They have sex toy mounts, which I didn't know by name, but when I went to look, oh my, they have furniture pieces that look incognito, but then there's like a fleshlight in it. They have a pillow that you can easily insert a wand vibrator in, so it gives humping your pillow more of an oomph. And Liberator is excited to give Fan Whore Nation a very special deal. Their best-selling Wedge and Ramp combo you can now get for 40% off with promo code MANWHORE at Liberator.com. Talk to anyone who's used to getting fucked on their back. When you can comfortably tilt that pelvis up, oof, not only is it better on the lower back, but it helps you get deeper, makes the sex better. Go to Liberator.com, check out their bondage furniture, check out their sex benches, check out the sex toy mounts, and maybe even pick yourself up the Wedge Ramp combo, again, for 40% off with promo code MANWHORE. Liberator.com. The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by Beducated.com. We're all going to get a jump on New Year's resolutions, okay? But before the new year is out, we were all going to go to Beducated.com. We're going to learn one new sex or dating skill. Even me. We're all going to go. We're going to take a class, and we're going to learn something. We're going to learn how to make people squirt. We're going to learn a new way to do the oral. We're going to learn how to prep for anal. We're going to learn how to communicate better in our relationships. None of us are sex masters. We all can do better. I don't want to single out one particular half of the population, but there is an orgasm gap. It is real, and just one side seems to be suffering more than the other, and maybe one side could take a few fucking classes If dudes would take the time to learn the knots, they would get so much more sex. Everybody seems to want to get tied up these days, but not enough people know how to do the tying up. There is a rope top shortage in this world, and you could be part of the solution. Beducated is even going to make it easier for you to do so. They're offering Fan Whore Nation a very special discount. I've been working with Beducated for years. They love the whoreheads. And so they want to make it easier for you to level up your sex and love life. Click the link in the schnotes. You're going to get 50% off an annual membership. That comes with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So if it ends up like that time I joined Squarespace and just couldn't fucking figure it out, unlike that place, you get your money back. So one more time, click the link in the schnotes. They were specific about that. I mean, you can use promo code manwhore, but they really would like you to click the link. So if you could click the link in the schnotes, if that thing is clickable, and if not, use promo code manwhore at beducated.com. It's like educated, but with a B in the front, because, you know, we're doing bed stuff, eh? If you're like me, you actually liked getting books as a Christmas present, because we're nerds. I know my people. Well, with the holiday season coming up, books make a great gift to the people in your life you wish would spend less time on TikTok. And when you shop for books at bookshop.org, they make sure your books came from an independent bookstore at an affordable price. Fun story, back when I was in my 20s and my bald spot was less noticeable, I got my youngest sister a copy of The Ethical Slut. She was starting college and I wanted to give her some kind of sex-positive influence. After she went back to school, I visited home and saw that she left the book here. Oh, well, I tried. Well, the following time I went back home, I walk in the front door and see my mother, the woman who birthed me. Maybe the one woman I do not want to imagine doing the things besides Roseanne Barr, laying on the couch reading my sister's very unopened copy of The Ethical Slut. There's a big lesbian orgy fisting scene in the middle of that thing, so I just pretended I didn't see anything and I walked upstairs. Now, that has nothing to do with bookshop.org. That's just a funny story about getting someone a book as a Christmas present. But it was the right book, just the wrong person. Anyways, get the right books for the right people through the right kind of bookstore at bookshop.org. And hey, when you click my affiliate link in the schnotes, I get a little extra on the back end. One more time, visit bookshop.org/shop/Billy or click the link in the schnotes.
Went to a hacienda brunch party yesterday. A woman approached me by the hot tub, noting my glitter, and we got to chatting. She let it slip that she sucks a mean dick, but only if she is digging the dick, and if that dick is vegan. Aroused and filling my jockstrap, despite the dietary restrictions, I told her she's welcome to fill mine to check for approval. There's a different electricity when a hand cups my clothed crotch. There's a warmth to it. I asked to kiss her, and we started making out as she got comfortable sitting on my lap. She also disclosed that she likes to be peed on. I have been drinking water, I let her know. We eventually made our way inside. We secured a spot on the bed next to a trans woman topping another hottie as I laid back for her to show me these mean dick-sucking skills. The room has mirrors on the ceiling, and the view was surreal. And of course, she did not disappoint. Not wanting to come before covering her, I swigged the last of my water and took her to a nearby bathroom, where we got in the shower. I put her mouth back on my cock for another minute or two, and then asked, "Are you ready?" "Not in my hair," was her hilarious response. I gave her a proper golden shower, her mouth open and eyes squinted in delight. When my bladder emptied and the bathroom scent understandably shifted, I fucked her face some more before unleashing a different liquid on her tits. She had a big smile on her face as she giggled. I rubbed in the piss and cum and sweat on her chest and shoulders. The gentleman that I am, I bent down to give her a kiss and then lifted her up to take a real shower. We parted ways after that, but I watched her get quite around that afternoon. Austin's point of view. Me and my partner were on a sexy cruise recently. We met this really cute guy and his husband just before the cruise, and one day I arranged a hookup with him on the ship over WhatsApp. He mentioned being dominant, and that got me excited as I haven't been with a dominant man in quite a while. So while Jamie was getting a spa massage, I gave him my room number and a time, and he came over after we negotiated our scene. He offered to edge me, and I had never had that done by another person before. Despite this being our first interaction, he was amazing at it. He was able to read my tone and body language, stopping each time right before I was about to climax. He also loved sensory play, so he played a lot with my nipples, edging me and even tickling me. My first experience was being tickled in a sexual context. The loss of control felt wonderful. At one point, the edging got so intense, I involuntarily blurted out, "Fuck you!" as he brought me to the edge for the 100th time, all while fucking my ass. Then he asked if I wanted to come, and I begged, "Yes, please." I became a puddle, and made a pretty good puddle too. After, we cuddled for a bit. I asked if there was anything he would like, and he wanted me to make out with him while I stroked his sizable cock. I happily obliged, and he came ropes and ropes onto his own chest. Now this is Jamie's side of the story. I was turned on hearing this story from Austin. I sent a message asking this man to come back to our room so he could help me with a problem I had. As he entered our room, he found Austin blindfolded and naked in bed. I asked our visitor if he'd fuck my boyfriend while I watched. He happily said yes. I found my way to the corner of the room and made myself comfortable while he began to touch and tease Austin in bed. As they escalated play, I reached for my vibrator and found myself wet with excitement and began to fuck myself while I watched. I squealed with joy when the visitor tickled Austin down from orgasm and turned on the vibrations on my toy. I came 3 times before Austin asked for me to come over and pinch his nipples while he rode our friendly shipmate. It was incredible being a voyeur and seeing a different way to play with my partner's body. I learnt that tickling can be a tool in bed, and have since been able to try it out on Austin while he was inside me. I went to my first kink event last night. It was in a huge, open avenue with 50+ people. Dim lighting, sexy music at just the right volume, and lots of comfy, kinky spaces. The vibe was perfect. It was a back-to-school theme, so my partner/master and I went together. She dressed me up like a slutty little schoolgirl, with a black skirt and black button-up collared top, tall black socks, and a cute bow tie. She dressed as a sexy and intimidating professor. I carried my book bag for my first day back to school, which was full of toys, floggers, paddles, crops, restraints, and more. It was quite fun, making the walk downtown for parking to the venue dressed so cute and slutty. We got there at around 8 p.m. and spent a little time acclimating, but soon set up a scene upstairs in the loft. There were people all around us fucking, spanking, chatting, cuddling. Master got me warmed up with her floggers, paddles and crops, while slapping and choking me. The sounds of spanking, paddling, whipping and flogging echoed through the venue. Anywhere you looked, there were people making out, fucking, fingering, choking, and inflicting pain on each other. In that first scene, Master stripped me down to just my lingerie bodysuit, bow tie, and tall black socks, and that's how I remained the rest of the night. It was amazing to walk around the place wearing almost nothing at all, feeling hot and powerful as hell. We headed back downstairs to see what was going on. The 3 benches placed in a line were being used by 2 women and a man. Centre of the room, bright red arses up in the air. A man was restrained to a St. Andrew's cross directly facing the stairs where people went up and down constantly, being whipped and flogged. A woman was pinned against a wall, being shocked with an e-stim. Later, I noticed that there was a lowly lit stage at the front of the venue, and the principal was sitting at her desk, ready to punish anyone caught without a hall pass. I approached them, and a minute later I was laid across her desk, being punished with hot wax. Master stayed with me to ensure my good behaviour, teasing me along the way. A man pulled up a chair and watched as I squirmed in pain. I realised I couldn't be more in the spotlight, literally, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved every second. Master and I sat up on the centre bench where she ramped up the pain. At this point, I was sweaty, covered in big red splatters of wax with my arse, thighs and arms bright red, and covered in lashes and bruises. I don't think I've ever felt so ravaged in my life, and we weren't done yet. We took a break upstairs to just sit and watch others. A super cute woman in fishnets was bent over, being fingered and stimulated with a wand. We watched her come. It was so hot. There was a large, comfy spot in the middle of the loft where people were gathering to cuddle. We asked and we were invited in, cuddling up with a man and 3 other women. I happened to be cuddled up in the thighs of the man with my master spooning me. His beautiful cock was only inches away from my face, and my slutty ass fell to temptation after a few minutes. I asked, and he happily agreed to let me suck his dick, asking my master's permission first, of course. Master said I needed training. Next thing you know, I'm in a full-blown foursome with Master, me, the man, and his hella cute partner. I was giddy to see the other woman enjoy my master. The man was pleasured by me with a wand, with his hand around my neck, calling me good girl, while Master groped me and played with my ass with another toy, all while the other woman watched. Then I sucked his dick again, with Master using the wand on me, and the other woman now diddling my ass. When I started sucking his dick again, I heard the other woman say, "Aw, she just can't get enough." Our session ended with Master and the other woman making out, playing with each other, and Master getting her tits sucked. I continued to suck his dick, begging him to feed his pet. A few minutes later, he pumped his hot cum into my mouth. I fervently thanked him for feeding me. Our foursome wrapped up as the event ended, and Master and I, and all our beautiful new slutty friends connected on socials, hugged and said goodbye. It was a truly amazing and absolutely unforgettable night. I felt so at home there, that feeling of, yes, I'm amongst my people. I left feeling completely, totally ravished, dirty in the best way possible, with a mind full of filthy, sexy memories. I cannot wait for the next event. This is one of my stories. I just had a wonderful, sexy moment with a friend I have not seen in ages. as she was in a relationship with an overzealous partner. I met up with her by the sea. I booked a little Airbnb, bought a bottle of wine, and I picked her up. Things quickly got rather physical, touching each other's arms, thighs, feeling each other out. We kissed, and it was like an explosion in my stomach, all the memories of our previous sexual experiences coming to the surface. We moved to the bedroom, quickly dropping our clothes, kissing and complimenting each other. I pushed her beautiful naked body onto the bed, got on my knees, and pulled her to me. My mouth quickly found her wet lips as I started to lick her, suck on her clit, and nibble her inner thigh. I felt her leg begin to shake as I continued to eat her out, tasting her getting more and more wet, my hands roaming over her body, gently pinching her nipples as she squirmed. She told me to get up and fuck her, so I did. I got on the bed, my cock throbbing with anticipation, mounting her, whilst her legs wrapped around me. I slowly pushed myself inside of her, feeling her stretch around my member. Softly, I pull out and push back in, back and forth, going faster and faster, deeper and deeper, her cries of pleasure turning into guttural moans as I felt her convulse under me, feeling her push me out with the force of her orgasm, her joy dripping down my legs, mixing with our sweat. Hungrily, I kiss her, our tongues flicking at each other, as I slow my rhythm but keep myself inside of her, allowing her to ride the waves of pleasure. We collapse, breathing heavy, our sweat soaking into the bedsheets, looking at each other, and we start giggling. After a 5-minute breather, I pulled out a couple of toys. I tell her what I want to do. She is a good girl and does exactly as I say. She gets on her knees. I tie her hands with my handcuffs and placed the small bullet vibrator between her fingers. She places it on her clit. I get behind her and fuck her hard and fast, straight out of the gate. She is moaning so loud, letting me take her, allowing herself to be entirely mine in that instant. I pull out my cock and rub it against her vulva until she squirts hard. My orgasm follows soon after, cum jerking out of me onto her perfectly round ass. She flips over and grabs my still throbbing member, cupping my balls as she sucked greedily on my penis, trying to suck every last drop out of me, until I physically removed her from me, my body shaking, my belly sensitive and sore, a shit-eating grin plastered on my face as I bent down to kiss her, admiring everything about this incredible woman. This morning, my husband was sidled up behind me as I was waking up. He nuzzled my neck and stroked my hair just how I like it. His hands travelled down to my bottom and spread my arse to reach my pussy. My lover is coming to visit me next weekend, and the anticipation has been so intoxicating for us. I arched my hips into my husband's hand for him to know that I was eager for his fingers to be inside of me. He rocked his fingers back and forth to get me so wet, while he told me how excited he was to see me pleasured by my lover, watching me or joining us while I sucked his cock. My husband stayed behind me in bed and angled our bodies to get his cock deep inside of me. He whispered fantasies to me of what he'll enjoy next week, together with my lover. I'd had a very late, long, and arduous night at work, although I was very aroused. I did not have the energy for a full, great orgasm. Understanding my lethargy, my husband got lotion to finish himself to come. While he jerked his cock, I spoke softly into his ear, telling him about possibilities with my lover. I told him I wanted to ride his cock cowgirl style, while my lover licks my pussy and sucks my clit. He came so hard learning about my upcoming desire. Such a beautiful start to the morning. I messaged my sadist, Sir. He told me to be ready because he was going to come over when he was done drinking with his friend. While I was waiting for Sir, another friend I occasionally play with texted me to see if I was up. Sir has in the past enjoyed coming over and fucking me after someone else has, but I wasn't sure what kind of mood he was in, so I texted him to tell him my friend was trying to get laid, and I wasn't going to reply unless he was okay with it. Sir was very okay with it, as long as I took a video for him. I text my friend back, and he was here within 15 minutes, and was happy to take a video of our playtime for Sir, but he didn't know Sir would be coming over after he was done. He got some good videos of me sucking his dick, and of him fucking me. He was here maybe half an hour, and then left happy and drained. As soon as he left, I texted Sir to let him know. He replied, he had been hoping to pull up as my friend was leaving. He told me to send the videos, and that I could choose how to be waiting when he got here. When I heard his truck, I unlocked the door and got in his favourite position, topless, on my knees at the door. He walked in, and as soon as he saw me, he smiled and called me a good girl. I immediately went to work undressing him, and he pulled up the videos I'd sent him and sat on the couch watching them as I sucked and gagged on his cock. It didn't take long for us to move to my bed. He then proceeded to use and abuse me in the most delicious ways, telling me how pleased he was with me and what a good slut I am for him, and how he loves other men enjoying me too. My friend and I always use condoms when we play, but Sir and I have been fluid bonded for years now. He ended the night coming in my arse while telling me how happy I make him. Not going to lie, it made me feel very warm and fuzzy inside, as I lay there feeling completely used. It's not the first time I've been fucked back to back, but this was intense, even for Sir. Now I know this doesn't sound like too much in 24 hours, but I ended up spending Saturday afternoon having my brains fucked out of me by my boyfriend as well. Boyfriend and I have been going through it for the past 6 months, and sex has been a very problematic issue for us for months now. I've been working with my therapist on it, and while we both have other partners, it doesn't make up for the lack of physical intimacy in our relationship. The dynamic we have is also very different than the one I have with other partners. Boyfriend spent hours making me scream his name in all kinds of amazing, beautiful ways. As hot as the sex with friend and Sir had been early Saturday, it was nowhere near as emotionally fulfilling as my afternoon in bed with my boyfriend. Every muscle in my body is sore and exhausted. My nipples are so sensitive. My head hurts from banging into the headboard, and I think I'm dehydrated. In less than 24 hours, I had sex 6 times with 3 men. Every one of my holes got used in some way. Apparently for me, that's my limit. I feel so fulfilled and satisfied though. While my dynamic with all three of them are so different, I appreciate all of my relationships so fucking much. We got down the first night in the hotel room to tequila-based jet-lagged stickiness. I thought she was looking good in the back of the pants department, so I let her know as she was changing, and then eyes were made and boners were popped, which led to holes getting wet. So, after a delicious salmon slapping at the front door, I turned her around and we got down with her lying on her stomach. And like Beggar's Canyon back home, Luke didn't pull out quite in time and I made a bit of a mess on the sheets. Sorry, housekeeping. Here's an extra tip for cleaning up my vacation shame. Then later that night, we go again, and she surprised me with some sassy red lingerie lacy thing. But I do remember her riding me so hard that the bed was like Northridge in '94, until we heard someone move a chair or table the next room over. The last thing was on the hotel room balcony. I munched her brunch, and she gobbled my nobble. Nothing but a sexy white bug netting between us and people seeing. We about to be on someone's TikTok. Oops. At least I was quiet and not screaming Geronimo like last time. But I would have liked my TikTok porno debut to not be with an extra 6 pounds of lobster meat. Highlight of the trip? Getting my dong stuck in between her titty meat and the lacy red lingerie and saying in a deeply sexy voice, "It looks like a fish caught in a net." Another story from me. So, I just had my first MMF experience that didn't end with me flaccidly looking at two people going to town on each other. It was still a weird experience, and I don't know if I want to do it again, but here is the first part of that story. I met up with a buddy and a friend of his, who had been shagging for a while for a Lord of the Rings marathon. Evening starts out okay, and we are just happily chomping on pizza and watching Frodo pull weird faces while fingering his ring. We finish up a pack of beer and start on the rum. None of us were drunk, just giggly. I was sat between them. She was getting very snuggly with me, and he and I have always been a little homoerotic with one another. It was about halfway through the Twin Towers that it got a little more sexual. After a quick fag break, I came back to find the little miss had got in the middle, so that she could cuddle up with both of us. I sat down, we keep watching, and I find myself gently playing with her nipples, while I noticed that my friend was slowly caressing her inner thigh and mons. I asked her if she would be happier if we took her dress off, and she agreed. Then, after some more gentle petting, I asked if she would like to remove her panties, to which she also agreed. So I find myself with a rather attractive naked woman moaning gently between me and my friend, who was looking at me with his eyes asking, "Do you want to do this?" I was a little hesitant, mostly just enjoying being able to touch this woman's soft skin as she laid across me. But then I nodded and asked if she would like to have a threesome. She agreed and undid my zipper, revealing my rather hard and throbbing cock. She started licking it while moaning as me and my friend were stroking her pussy, turning her so she could suck his cock as I gently fingered her flower. She then gets up and sits on my face, her legs trembling as my tongue flicks over her clit or the length of her slit. My mate standing over us as she continues to suck his cock between moans. She is then put on her back as I hold her legs so she doesn't crush my buddy's head, and he goes down on her. Her breaths become shaky, and her moans become louder and louder until she squirts a little. Feeling rather proud of ourselves, we go to grab our respective condoms. Once she has caught her breath, we both sat down on the couch, I watched as she got on my mate and started riding him, her arse popping up and down as she started moaning louder and louder until she was almost screaming. Her arse clapping against his thighs while I sat back, admiring the view, stroking myself just enough to keep myself rigid. When he took her doggy style, she grabbed my cock like a joystick, licking the tip and sucking hard. It was an amazing feeling her mouth vibrate as she moaned around my dick. I held her short hair tightly at the scalp until she came up to breathe, looking me in the eye and telling me, "I want you now." My mate pulled out and she straddled me, easing down slowly on my throbbing erection, gently inching down until I was almost entirely inside of her. I smiled, lifting my hands up, and said, "Take your time. You are in control." She lets out a shaky breath before kissing me, spittle falling from our lips as we parted. She sat up and started breathing heavier as she bounced up and down, going slightly faster and faster before grinding on my manhood. My buddy stood up so that she had something to put in her mouth. She took him between her lips, loudly sucking as her concentration kept being torn away. My mate was grunting and moaning as she licked and sucked on his prick, enjoying the sensation of the vibrations as much as I had. I then told my mate to sit back down and her to kneel, her face in his crotch. I began to eat her out from behind, my tongue lapping at her velvet-like lips, the waves of pleasure making her asshole pucker and relax. As I did this, I was playing with myself, enjoying every moment. I stood back up and slowly penetrated her again. She pushed back a little too fast and hard, causing her to jolt forwards, letting out a little whimper. I told her to slow down, and this time, let me take control. I watched my friend's head go back into light, his eyes closing as she gagged and gurgled on his cock. Her body was shaking, her twat tightening around me as I thrust in and out, keeping a nice, steady rhythm, until she let out a squeal of pleasure, resting herself on my friend's stomach, breathing hoarsely, her mouth agape. I continued slowly, smiling and feeling rather proud of myself. We moved to the bedroom, where both my mate and I took turns on her joyous body. He went first, laying on top of her as she bit into the pillow. He fucked her hard and fast as I closed the window. She began to yell and scream, her whole body shaking from pleasure as the little soldier came in his condom. I then took my turn, flipping her over as I love watching her face contort in such a marvelous way. Her ankles on my shoulders as I slowly pushed myself inside of her, moving back and forth, faster and faster and faster until I came, my body spasming erratically, watching the smile on her face grow as my member slowly shrank away. I kissed her softly, thanking her for such a wonderful experience. After that, we showered, poured ourselves some more rum, and returned to the slightly soggy couch, an aura of bliss around us, to finish the rest of the film. I told my husband to take his pants off and start playing Tetris 99. We would see if he could get first place, despite my interference. I took my sweet time to join him in his game room and knelt in front of his seat while he played, just staring at his cock and watching it grow in anticipation. I waited until he was totally focused on his game, and then started to lick and suck. He moaned softly, but otherwise remained focused on his game, so I escalated the distraction by taking off my shirt while continuing with my mouth. When I heard the music in the game speed up, I knew that time was running out for me to succeed with my plan. I sped up my pace, sucking him and gently massaging his balls. Game over, 8th place. He tossed the controller down and finished in my mouth. I swallowed, and then got up and walked out of the room, leaving him dazed and smiling. I've been taking a Tinder break, but looked at my matches just to see if anyone had messaged me. A guy I'd exchanged a couple of messages with a while back messaged me again. He said he'd be in town this evening and asked if I could meet up with him. My favourite saying is, "Stay slutty." Of course I did. He's a long-haul trucker and asked me to meet him at a truck stop. The plan was to meet inside, grab a bite to eat at the restaurant, and then, wow. We met inside as planned. I looked at him, looked at the restaurant, looked back at him, and asked, "How hungry are you?" He took my hand chuckling, and we walked out right past a million truckers. All I can think is, they know exactly what's about to go down in Space 18. It took about 3 minutes, and I didn't care if the entire state knew what was happening. He's a fucking rock star at licking pussy. I found myself telling him to stay down there as long as he liked. He used his mouth and fingers together like a master. I didn't have to give him an ounce of instruction. He was right the fuck on from the first lick. As you can imagine, the bed in the truck is very small, with minimal overhead space. You have to get a little creative to position for actual sex. My favourite moment was him sitting off to the side of the bed while I sat on him. He gave my tits all the attention they've been missing. We kissed a lot. Another thing I'd been missing for a while. There was lots of leverage, lots of coming. By the time we'd exhausted each other, his bed was soaked. Oops. He'll be back Thursday. I had some very hot and needed sex in a dive bar bathroom last night. We've been flirting and building sexual tension for a few weeks now, and haven't had much time to act on that desire. We grabbed some cheap pizza and drinks and found a dark corner booth at a dive bar. We tried to carry on a conversation about work and life, but his hand had found its way up under my dress, and I kept getting distracted when his probing fingers would graze my G-spot. Eventually, he saw a window of opportunity and told me to meet him in the bathroom in 30 seconds. I walked in, and he immediately goes to town worshipping my pussy with his mouth. He stands up, and I return the favour by hungrily servicing his cock. We start to hear sounds from the other side of the bathroom door indicating that someone is waiting for us to finish up. My partner bends me over the sink and proceeds to rail me while I try to muffle my happy whimpers. I've wanted this man's cock inside of me for weeks, and it's finally happening. Conveniently, the bar turns up the playlist volume, so now we're furiously going at it to the music of My Chemical Romance. We finish up and make a not-so-shameful walk of shame past the bar patrons waiting in line for the bathroom. All in all, a great night. This one is from me. Last one, Billy, I promise. So, I didn't have sex, but if you give me a minute, I can regale you with a story of bi-curiosity. This was a few years ago. After a breakup, I was feeling sorry for myself, and so decided to go to a swingers club. I get there and realise that it's a very queer club. Not a problem. I pay my way in and go to claim my free drink at the bar. There are a lot of cross-dressing gay men there, and I'm not being a prick. This is them saying that they were cross-dressers. I thank the server and head outside. It's April, so it's a little cool in the evening, but not too bad. I sit down, light up a smoke, and start people watching. Very quickly, I'm catching the eye of some of the regulars, and they come over to join me at my table. They are kind and cheeky and very nice to me, as they could tell I was not really in my element. It's a good ambience. The group that took me under their wings was an older lass named Josephine. She was a fiery 60-year-old with red hair and the most enormous natural boobs I have ever seen. Second was Steph, a blonde-haired, short woman in her mid-40s. And there was Amber, also known as Patrick outside of the club. Amber was very obviously into me, and I think the two other ladies were waiting to see how I would respond to the overt flirting, and seeing how far it would go, as I had defined myself as heterosexual, but open to trying new things. Amber quickly manages to find a way onto my lap as she starts grinding slightly on my nether regions. I didn't feel I had enough courage in me, so went for another drink. Amber then led me around the club, showing me the glory hole wall, the mirror room, the private rooms and the showers. I was still a little nervous, so we kept on chatting a little bit outside. The mix of grinding on me, the beer, and generally being a horny fuck finally got my cock to start getting hard. I downed my drink, offered to buy one for Amber, and went to the bar. As I am sitting there, waiting for my service, I could feel her hard cock rubbing up against my leg. So I slid my hand down, pulled up her skirt, pulled out her dick. I started to stroke it and rub the tip. I heard her gasp in shock, then giggle, as I kept my eyes forward looking at the bartender. I took it in my hand, and she started to masturbate herself, moving her hips back and forth, moaning slightly. I finally get the attention of the barmaid, and order us both a drink, as Amber was a little distracted. I felt the tip get a little wet as her pre-cum oozed out. She was shaking with the excitement as I gently tugged on her little dick. I finally turned to her and kissed her. I was slowly speeding up. She twitched and whined, her head on my chest until I popped it back in her panties. I then grabbed my beer. She pouted, and I said I would deal with it a little later. We head back outside and kept on chatting with the other girls. They said it would be fun for me to see the BDSM side of the club, but I was a little weary, seeing as I've never really done BDSM before in my life. I asked the girls to keep an eye on my drinks and told Amber to follow me to the private rooms. It'd be locked, but there were lots of windows to see through. We stripped down to nothing and got on the bed. I had sucked cock before, but wasn't sure of how good I was, so she decided to show me how it was done. I lay there, receiving very vigorous oral sex from a skinny little lad. I grabbed his cock and jerked him off, as he licked and slurped on my shaft. My hands started moving away from his cock, up to his bum. The lube in the room helped as I began teasing his twitching hole. His moans got louder, so I guessed why not, and my God, I'm a horny shit. So I guessed, why not? And my middle finger penetrated him. I aimed my finger so that I would, hopefully, be on his prostate, and my thumb massaged his taint. My other hand moved up and down his back, caressing him and making him shiver. Amber seemed to be enjoying himself. This went on for a while, as more and more people came to look at the two boys doing their thing. A few people tried the locked door, but it didn't budge. I pulled a condom out of the basket and put it on. I took Amber doggy style, slowly and gently easing my way inside of them. As they moaned loudly, soon enough my cock was fully inside of them. Their fists clenched on the pillow as I fucked him slowly and deliberately, pulling back and pushing in, allowing him to enjoy it without trying to hurt him. Before long he was vigorously wanking as I kept on thrusting at a steady rhythm. Suddenly he blew his load, shooting ropes of cum onto the plastic-sheeted bed. We collapsed, both panting and chuckling. It had been fun, but I was pretty sure I wasn't bi. I know this sounds weird, but it was mostly the energy that was making me horny. It wasn't the masculine person in front of me. Anyway, what happens after? Did I write it out? No. Sorry, that's the end of the story. This is just a little message from me. It was an absolute pleasure to read these stories. If you want to hear more, support Billy. Join the Champagne Room. Add more stories to the I Just Had Sex channel. Join the Patreon. All links will be in the notes. Remember people, stay slutty.
Hello, I'm Billy Presida, host of the Man-Whore Podcast. Having put my most intimate stories of love and glory holes on the internet since the age of 24, I understand the importance of entertaining sex-positive conversations. Since 2014, the Man-Whore Podcast has shared free weekly content inspiring hundreds of thousands of sluts around the world to communicate better and come harder. With your contribution, One Whore plans to survive capitalism in 2024 while making you laugh and think and ask your partner for an open relationship. I hope I can count on you to support this vital, important, life-changing work on Patreon. We don't have tote bags, but we do have a 53-minute bonus episode of people having oral sex. Become an official fan whore today at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Thank you.
He offered to edge me, and I had been never blessed. I became a puddle and made a pretty good oh, sorry, cracky shoulders, so we could help blah 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 blah. Fuck. Okay. Come for me, Billy. Come.